All right, good morning and welcome to today's live show. Looks like we have a little bit of ranges, right? We need some ranges to get to you guys. I wasn't able to make a video last night, but we do have 572.30 to the upside. We do see 567.04 to the downside for the SPY. Okay, so this is going to be for the SPY. Make sure to tune into the beginning of the video, or if someone asked for the ranges, just tell them real quick, hey, he showed it right away at the beginning in the first 5 minutes of the video. That'll help throughout the stream. And then the Qs over here, again, another little bit of a small range, a little bit bigger than the SPY, but still we do have 485.89 to the upside and 480.21 to the downside. So not the biggest range again, meaning easier to do something crazy if we do get something out of here, but we should expect 68% of the time we're going to land right in this zone. So yesterday we had a tight range, right? And we ended up staying in those zones. Today we have a tight range, so maybe we should expect to kind of stay in those zones. Now, a key note with the at least signals at this moment, you do have this little green blip telling you positivity is the most likely option as the morning starts, and we could head up towards that daily expected move. So that is something that I would pay very close attention to. A lot of people out there are still talking about wanting to look into NVIDIA, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, you did have a curl up of the MACD down here. You're not too far away from the center line. You just always need to be open to a lower high. But if you can really make probably a line between this, you can really break through and then start to curl up on some bigger time frames. I think that could be a good sign, right? If this 2 hour starts to curl up into positive territory, you really got to start paying attention. We could just see some kind of little ABC move to the top of this zone here, and that's something I'm paying attention to as far as NVIDIA goes. Now, I wanted to talk about a couple stocks giving some signals. We actually posted Tesla, which is actually breaking to the upside, never crossed down, okay? That's a key thing. We posted this one to Patreon just saying, hey, this is one you want to watch. It's not outside of a weekly move. And someone even commented, hey, I'm being patient to see if it goes up towards that weekly expected move. Now you are outside of it. You never confirm that divergence, right? So you have to wait for confirmations. That is a key thing. I myself am thinking about taking a play here, but I did not see that confirmation, so I'm not going to take some kind of downward play when we're closing at the high and curling back up. That's just not what I'm going to do, but it still has that look. We'll see if this fades this morning, as that is doing something crazy right now. Another one I would think I was looking at, I believe it was Google. Yeah, Google showing a lot of steep divergence here. I want you to really look at this trajectory here. Look how down that is. That is just a lot straight down. I mean, really just a good angle down on the RSI as well, telling you, hey, the 2 hour is likely to cross over here. The 2 hour did cross. So even though you're getting this blip up, yes, you have to pay attention if 30 minutes are rotating up, but watch if that rotates right back down, because the most likely scenario from here is you need more of a pullback than this. And that's just the honest truth there. I mean, the 2 hour is saying I need to pull back further. This is saying, hey, I want to go higher. So I just pay attention if this is actually able to cross. You got to treat it like it can go higher. But then if that curls around, we can just see better timing, right? We can't time the market perfectly every single time. That's why you want to react. That's why we manage trades. That's why we teach that in the courses down in the description. But for the most part, you just want to say, if this does curl up, positivity can happen. And if that reversal signal still holds, then I could say, okay, this is the actual opportunity. Maybe we break down, get a little bounce, and then break down again, right? Get that left head, right shoulder. We could even get a little right shoulder right now, to be honest. You could honestly get like a little thing right here and then just be done and say this was it. And you start to break down. So the 2 hour has crossed for Google. That's why I was watching it. Microsoft, as we go look at that, that had a major point of divergence. We had a ton of divergence right here, very, very significant. But look how controlled the selling is so far. The controlled selling is there. So if that 30 minutes able to pop up, I think we will maybe test this higher, go make a new one. That being said, this said the 2 hour was going to cross down, and that's exactly what's been happening. We actually had a rejection divergence. We do have to pay a little bit of attention to the daily scale, but for now, the most likely direction for Microsoft is going to be down from here. As we click over to things like AMC and GME, just notice still that main signal I want to pay attention to this week is going to be that 2 hour, right? That 2 hour. And so this has not confirmed up yet, meaning I shouldn't expect any kind of positivity from this just yet. Now, this is a little bit different. We talked about GameStop. We talked about the 30-minute divergences that were down here, and you see those 30-minute divergences. Yeah, they were a little choppy, but you see if you're always in the play, right? Always ready to react back into the play. There it is, off to the races. Great little trade setup there for the time being. if you wanted to make it more clear, you probably could have done an hourly chart, just see this tiny blip and say, okay, from here on, we're just looking pretty good, right? So this morning, though, if it's going to behave like a regular stock, then a 30-minute pullback would make total sense, right? You consolidate, and then you're able to break through. You get down to that center line, and then you're able to break through. That is something I would be paying attention to. $5, Dell CEO just sold billions of stock. Can you chart Dell? 50 looks to be crossing below the 200-day soon. Thank you so much, Short Fridays, and welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you so much for the $5. Let's go look at Dell, actually, because pretty much GME, this is the only other thing that we wanted to pay attention to. Let me get through the dollar and volatility. First of all, volatility has confirmed this divergence here. And then you just want to pull up this 2 hour. That 2 hour is turning green here. So it is not breaking down really as the SPY has headed to higher levels. That is something key to understand. You do have divergence down here. This daily chart is kind of basing out. It really is right as we approach that 200. We still could go test that, right? I wouldn't be surprised if we go test the 200, but for the most part, we would say anytime that this curls up, volatility can come back in. All right, the dollar, real quick for the dollar, remember the daily scale for the dollar is gonna matter. If that crosses down, we could see more potential squeezing unless the dollar is crashing with the market. We'll see what happens with that. As we go into 4-hour charts though, we just noticed that the similar signal to the last time this thing really bottomed out is right here, right? We got all these, we even got a 2-hour divergence here. You got a 4-hour divergence here, even more significant this time than the last one. So that is going positive. Now you want to see, is this 2 hour going to rotate back up? Because it is in positive territory technically. We want to see if that thing pushes to the upside. Dell, if we go look at Dell, so Dell really consolidating, not really breaking through, it seems like. I'd really pay attention if this 2 hour can rotate up. I'd even say an hourly. I think an hourly rotates up. What you're getting here is you kind of have this cupping with a weird handle. Then you try to break through and then you're consolidating. So it makes sense to consolidate here, this level where we saw resistance, where we saw resistance. So you're consolidating. If that hourly can turn up, positivity, right? I would say positivity. If we're actually going to turn down, then I think you're going to just see this daily cross down. I think you got to be patient if you think Dell's going to fall here. That being said, on the 2 hour, we can notice that that has pulled back with some divergence. So there is potential for this to be some kind of trap, but I'd really be watching that hourly chart because these are pretty positive moves. Right, this is a pretty positive move, and I'm sure someone out there is drawing up some kind of consolidation, which you could pay attention to, but for the most part, you just want to say your indicator is very positive, so upside would still be the most likely option, I would say, especially when you look at this hourly and you say, okay, we've been consolidating, the price is going up, we'll see if this can just cross. If that rejects, whole different story, you got to watch that daily time frame. If we go over and look at Tesla this morning, we see Tesla was able to break to the upside. This is one that we were paying attention to. Like I said, I love that someone on the Patreon commented, yes, this is just because we posted this. We posted this look. I really like the look of this. And they posted underneath it saying, yeah, I really like the look of Tesla, but it's not outside of the, pretty much they said it's not outside of the weekly expected move. I expect we go maybe test those levels and then see what happens. And so I think that's perfect thinking because you have more probabilities of seeing downward moves outside of those ranges. So if you see a stock make a divergence outside of a range, that's what we really look for, especially when we're looking for those 5 reasons to take a trade. That could be a great reason because there's an actual, oh yeah, it was John, right? Yeah, John, it was a fantastic comment. I really liked it. I think that it's a good way to be like, okay, it's a good way to convince yourself too, don't take it before it crosses, right? You have to see that cross. It's a great way to kind of tell yourself like, hey, you still have a higher point that the options data is telling you can get. Now you're there. So you want to see if it helps you make a decision. Does this fade right away and then cross over? That would be the signal to pay attention to and say, hey, we might drop down to 235. So I really like that comment. I think that is fantastic. And you'll see this pop up kind of like the 15-minute might clear it up a little bit for you. If you see that thing kind of curl down, that could be a good sign. But I think the 30-minute signal is the big one. Can you guys see my chart? It can be multiple time frames. It could be one time frame. So in this move, what I would say to myself, and I kind of be taking notes, you know, we talk about if there's multiple divergences behind it. Oh, well, can everyone else see the screen? Everyone else see the screen? I like it, John. It's good. Okay, good. So just try to refresh the page real quick, Mark. If you're looking for this type of stuff, what we pay attention to is, well, the strength of the pullback, right? It can help you with taking profit and that kind of thing. So what we want to look at here is we're just looking at a 30-minute divergence. Does it have a 2-hour behind it? Not necessarily. I wouldn't say it has a 2-hour behind it, at least a clear one. That looks like a pullback could happen. So immediately when I look at that 30-minute divergence, I'm thinking that that is going to cause the 2-hour to pull back. Where could the 2-hour pull back to if that 30-minute divergence right here proved itself, aka crossed down on that 30-minute chart? Well, this little zone right here would make a lot of sense. This little wick, these closing bars right here, 237 probably makes a lot of sense. So when I look at the 30-minute, I just have to say, okay, if this crosses, I'm looking for a move most likely down to something like 237. And that's most likely all I really get. If we're going to pull back by more than that, that's fine. But at that point, we could be curling back up. So this would be an area where I would say, okay, maybe I do take a little bit of profit, but I'm also just waiting and seeing if that actually does come down, if this actually does cross. It will cross eventually, but if it crosses up here, it's a lot different than if it crosses right here, right? If it crosses up here, well, then we're probably just talking pullback again, right? We're probably just talking pullback again and looking for another point higher. We haven't looked at, is that Moderna? Yeah, we haven't looked at Moderna in a little bit. This might be a little 2-hour divergence. You're getting a lot of rejection here, but the 2-hour is what I'd be paying attention to. Look at those divergences across the way. Not the best divergences in the world, but they are there. So if this did see a good move, that means that the daily can start to swing up. So if the daily is going to swing up, what's the most likely scenario from here? Well, you're going to get a rejection divergence. You're a little closer to the center line. So that could be a very, very strong move. Maybe it moves all the way to the top of the Bollinger Band. Maybe it goes and tests the 50. Maybe it goes and tests the 200. Well, the 2-hour crossing up is what you need to see first in order for that to happen. And then it's still not, oh, the job's done, because this thing's been breaking down for a little bit of time. So this could just be some kind of pop that then drops down again, right? And then you get closer to that center line. That would be nice, but I think this one does look okay. And I'd be paying attention if this has some steam behind it. If you get that daily chart to rotate up, then I think you could head as high as, what are these levels here? Probably something like 82.50 to 88.50, somewhere in there. And you'll notice why I'm also saying that area could be it, not just because it's Bollinger Band and a line here and a 50 moving average. It's because of this, right? This is really the area we need to get to if we're going to build back. So if you fall short of that and you just hit the rejection area, aka the Bollinger Band, and fall off, you're most likely heading lower again. But if we can really build up to this point, see a pullback, well, now you have structure to head higher. You see how the steam behind a move can help me think into the future a little bit. It's nice. So I don't mind the look. 2-hour divergence down at the lows. SMCI. SMCI had a big daily divergence down here. So this is one we're paying attention to. Looks like it's cup and handling on a 2-hour chart right now. So can we see a upside move? Yes, we can, because we've really built the structure to do that. Now it's not showing that strength just yet. This is where the 30-minute time frame, you notice this, we kind of did this, right? We climbed up to here, we got that little handle, we broke out, now we're retesting that area. So we're getting a retest, which tells me something here. If that 2-hour is going to cross over, then this 30-minute is not going to be able to turn up. So if this 30-minute crosses up, then I think that 2-hour still has some good moves in it. That's for SMCI. SMSI, Smith Micro Software. Let's look here. 2-hour pullback looks like the most likely scenario. Hourly is what I'd be paying attention to, right? There's not a ton of signals down here because it's just a dramatic move down, but if that hourly can turn up, it's still in positive territory, which means you can make a new closing high up in these areas. It means we could probably test this type of level or even go a little bit higher. So 1-hour turn up is what I'm looking for SMSI. Yeah, I know, but I like SMCI. Anyway, I'm going to go use the restroom for a brief moment here, and I will be right back. I'm going to leave you guys to it, and then we're going to go pop back over to Tesla when I do get back, because we need to see if that thing is fading, right? It went above that weekly expected move. All right, 2 minutes. All right, and we're back. All right, let's go pop over to Tesla for a brief moment. That thing is not fading. Holy crap, that thing is not fading. That thing's still heading to the upside, never confirmed down. Oh, bad stuff. So for the most part now for Tesla, honestly, look at this thing. Look at that monthly chart. Really screaming higher. That's kind of crazy, isn't it? This weekly rejection looks pretty nice. Daily scale still going. Now, as we look at the daily scale, what's the most likely thing to happen here? Well, a reaction up to this level would be nice, and then we actually see this kind of make that handle here. I think that would be the best look. Maybe that handle's just sideways too until earnings. We'll have to see. All right, a couple minutes till the PCC comes out. SPY's struggling though, so even though we have, you know, Tesla doing something fantastic, honestly, fantastic for Tesla. On the other side of all this, we don't necessarily see it being that good for tech stocks in general. So still waiting to see if this 30-minute can rotate up. I think that's a big deal. Oh, let me get into this. Okay. Dollar really did break down. We'll see if that thing can turn around. Volatility looking like it wants to cross down, but still holding that tapering. So we'll see if there's some kind of reaction like in the next 15, 30 minutes. I actually think we have potential to see something here live. That'd be good. The Dow as well, try to make that upward move. The only problem is you have a ton of divergences here. Your consolidation is not pulling down enough, in my opinion, but we still can't see that break to the upside. Remember, we do have on Patreon, down the link in the description, we have the weekly range for DIA. And LR. Ah, nope. Yeah, this one's just going to be the 2-hour pullback scenario. Looks like something you might want to be looking into. As we pull out to the daily time frame, that thing's starting to get a little overbought. So we can't see a pullback in this area. Now, if we want to keep being overbought for a while, a perfect reaction, I think, would be to break to this level, just because this was a very obvious breakdown area. Look how obvious that breakdown area is. We break down, we retest, we reject. We kind of retest almost at that point, reject with that lower high. And then we actually, when we do this, we kind of gap and use that power to go up from here. So we've really bursted through this level right here. Maybe we need to go even higher to then get that pulling down scenario. So we'll see, but I think this level right here, something around $79 could be important for this one soon. Yeah, PCC very low. PCC very low. Dollar not necessarily positive while that's happening. You'd really like the dollar to be positive while that's happening, but I'd pay attention to it still. That is people getting very overzealous to the call side. If we want to go look at Apple real quick, Apple, you got to pay attention to the daily time frame. That would not be a pretty look. But if you really go look at Apple's 30-minute chart, you just say, hey, if that curls up, we got the test of 225. Right, I think the Sunday video we overall said, hey, a test of 225 is what I'd first be paying attention to. See if that 30-minute can cross back up into positive territory. It has not crossed up yet. So that means maybe this 2-hour pullback has more to say. Maybe this is just some kind of dead cat bounce that then reacts down lower. And I would really like to go fill this gap. Now that would get you a little bit negative most likely, so that wouldn't be the best. Most likely the best place to react to is something like 223.94 or 224, we would say, something like 224. That level would be fantastic. You see how we really use that here as the breakdown area, reacted up to it, faded it, reacted up to it, crashed down from it, and then we gap above it. So I really like that area right there, about 224. Corbin, good morning. Get some coffee. You gotta wake up, man. Oh, long-term plays too for those. I think long-term play for the last one, you really wanted to see these dailies. These dailies were fantastic trades, by the way. If you were paying attention to these, John, I love these plays. And zooming out and doing the daily time frame is perfectly fine. I think that's fantastic. It really looks good. John, it really does. This here is a daily divergence. The time to get in said right here, then you consolidate, right? We consolidate, meaning we probably pull back on the 2-hour and then just pop up. And then that one says, hey, now, if I was taking options and I noticed that that thing was consolidating and turned down for a moment, then I could not waste money with time and see that thing cross up. Or I could get in case there's a big move, see that pull back, be patient with it, be confident as it's in positive territory, see that cross up and add a little bit more to make that position even better, and then see that upside move, and it's fantastic so far. But you notice that the 2-hour is really, really up there. So a pullback back to test, I would say something like 27.25 would be very nice. You see we have that little bit of liquidity there. We had some reactions to there and faded it. We had some reactions almost gapping like right above it or into it, I would say, and then going to the upside. So I like the look of the stock. I think if you were paying attention to the daily time frame, it was a great opportunity to get in before this weekly turns up. And you notice that weekly is trying to turn up. So the best place you could have got in was down there. I think with the daily divergence was probably the best move right there. Then you just have like a month or 2-month option and boom, see that upside move. I like it. Yeah, if I saw a solid pullback, I would say down to that about 27 level, I would actually look at this. If I saw like a little hourly pullback to there, might make me have to make a decision. Amazon was one I'm a little bit worried about. I think this thing's getting a little cooked. I really do. And this is one I was kind of thinking about posting just because it keeps going up and up and up and up and up. And it's hitting up towards 195.37. So 195.37 is, or sorry, what did it hit? 195. 195, sorry, 190. I think I said 135. 195.37 is actually not the weekly expected move. So you could end up actually just doing some kind of little pull down here and then curl back up to go up to that weekly expected move and then pay attention. But we can see that the price action is getting pretty damn tight here. You're looking for that breakout moment. I still believe this is tight. Now you're seeing a red bar. If that red bar does cross, you do have divergence across the way. If it wants to, though, you can see that this is relatively positive. So you got to pay attention if that 30-minute crosses back up. If that crosses back up, you might go up to that weekly range, and then that would be the real opportunity for timing, but it could be right now. So that's why we manage trades, right? We trade like water. Amazon, interesting. Was another one. I think it was Netflix looking like, yeah, Netflix was looking like it was going to see a big move. Right now, still trying to really break through these levels. Haven't really cleanly broken it. If that 30-minute rotates back down, I'd be paying close attention for downside. 2 hour is curled down, hasn't curled back up. So if that rejects here, it's not going to be pretty, but you do have room to the downside before you have to really break down. You can curl back up into positive territory. You're not very close to the center line here. Just take a quick peek. Take a quick peek at the daily. The daily has confirmed up as of yesterday for GameStop. So that is a big deal, guys. We have divergence down at these levels. That is a massive deal. That can see something crazy. To see something crazy, you got to get above 24.12 though. So we have to see if there's consolidation. A lot of the time when you do see the signal nowadays, right, not in the past, now it seems they've figured out a way to fight the stock when these daily crossings do happen, because the last couple have been a little bit bad, right? So this crossing up right here led to a 47% up day the next day. So they go, we got to figure that out, and then they clamp down on it. So then the next time you curl up, the next day you only see a 5.7% up day. Okay, and then notice it's fought again. So I think they've figured out a method here, because now these cross-ups are not looking as good, right? They're not looking the best, right? There's always a fight right afterwards. There's always a fight right afterwards, especially at this point. Remember, we hit that key level and then we started to fade from there. So as this is crossing up, it seems they have most likely found a way to fight the stock. It's most likely very expensive. I can tell you that. This is probably very expensive to cut down on this momentum. That's kind of crazy. So I would really be paying attention if they can even break this down one more down, at least pull back or something like that one more time, is you're going to see a 2 hour crossover if it'll load. There we go. 2 hour crosses down. That's when you know, hey, that could continue to the downside. They're fighting the stock. If that 2 hour doesn't cross down, it could still be the moment pretty much for this at any time this week, because we do have that daily cross up. I hope Tesla goes down to 250. I think you got a good shot of that. We'll see. Mara 1 showing 2 hour divergence, so that makes me want to go look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin looking like it is pulling down on the 4 hour. Maybe one more breakout moment for Bitcoin. We go hit 65K or something like that, and then we have to see some kind of pullback in a bigger time frame. A 4 hour, and you already rejection divergence here, so you could just keep turning down. We'll see, but if this turns up, obviously that means positivity is the most likely option. Meta really turning down here, and we don't really want to be on a 4 hour for that. The daily, you notice, has come to a higher point here, has come to a higher point on the MACD as well. So this could still just be a bigger pullback on the daily scale. We'll have to pay attention to that. For the most part, are there reversal signals in this? There was a rejection right here. So you see that, we cross down, now it's looking bad. So 2 hour pullback is the most likely option at this moment. Notice I didn't need the 2 hour up to know that, but we can see that little divergence. I'm immediately seeing how powerful the move is and saying, okay, this will most likely be a pullback, as we haven't seen that second push higher. So really be paying attention to this, getting to that center line and curling back up. That looks like the most likely option to me at this point. Down goes Google. There you go, Google. I really like the reversal signal here from Google. I think this is a fantastic look. This is something I wanted. I should have posted that to Patreon for you guys. Unlucky. But this is one I was paying attention to. Don't even think the timing's that bad, honestly. You're just now seeing the 2-hour cross down. I'm gonna look at this. All right, cool. So yeah, 2-hour pullback still what I'm mainly looking for. As we go look at something else. What was the other thing I was gonna look at? Shoot. I think it was still just the SPY trying to come down and fill that gap. Did curl up. We got to see if it curls right back down. That's why I don't take like every single curl of a 30-minute, because things can get a little bit messy on the 30-minute, right? You see crazier stuff on a 30-minute chart. That's why I like that daily signal John posted. I really like that daily signal. Daily signals are fun. You just sit back, relax, watch a 2-hour, chill. Then the 2-hour goes positive and you're like, now I'm really chilling. Then you see a divergence and you're like, all right, I'll sell it. It's so nice. See that PCC again, up towards 0.75 now, but still remaining low for a long time, right? Remember, we remained high for a few days. We remained high for a few days leading up to Friday, September 20th. So leading up to Friday, and what ended up happening here on Friday was we ended up coming down. So now that we've seen that downward move, people really want calls, and now that can come down again, because now you have the same problem. So we'll see what happens here, but for the most part, I think here, the hourly wasn't able to curl up. That's your confirmation, I think, of more upside. The obviously the daily turning down is going to be more downside, but that might take some time. The shorter time frames, the 30 minutes still looks like, hey, if it flips back to a big, thick red bar, hey, then I probably would pay attention for that ABC move to the downside. Yeah, I don't think that I really would doubt this holds for too long, but for the most part, we would say, hey, it's experiencing something crazy. If it's going to go back down to a level, then I think it's what, 253 or something like that is what we're overall paying attention to. So yeah, 254, 253 is where you need to break back down below by Friday. This is happening on a Tuesday, just so you're aware. This is happening on a Tuesday. So you have 3 whole days and some, right? Today as well. You pretty much have 4 days for this to get back down to the 68% zone. I would really be looking for that cross down too. That would be very, very helpful for a trade setup. That's why we posted it, is so you can pay attention to the signal, right? By the way, on Patreon, I do post the signals before they confirm, because I want you to be able to watch it and react. So you still have to wait for confirmation. If you take the course, we talk about confirmation a lot, okay? So make sure that we're not just seeing some kind of signal, right? I'm not just seeing a divergence forming and then just taking the play, because that makes no sense. You want to make sure that has actually confirmed. That divergence technically doesn't even exist, right? It's just forming. It doesn't even exist until you confirm. And that's what you're waiting for from something like Tesla. You're waiting for it, I think, even with something like Google, right? You're waiting for it to confirm. It confirms, okay, go, go, go. So that's fantastic. Nvidia curled up on the 30-minute trying to make that upside move. What's AMD doing? AMD is kind of doing this weird behavior, not able to fully get up to where you would want to make the handle, making it a little bit early, I would say. You really wanted a strong move here, get that handle, and then break through that divergence is up there. So this is interesting. See if that flips back down to negative. And then Meta really breaking down, Microsoft breaking down, Google breaking down. Palantir breaking down. There's a good one. Let's look if it has a bigger time frame here. Yeah, there it is. 2-hour divergence, very, very steep, confirming as of that bar. Probably confirmed a while back, but I wanted to, I probably could even pull up an hourly here. That hourly still hasn't crossed, but we'll see what happens. 2-hour signal looks good here. This means that Palantir can see some kind of little pullback, or You could really reverse around the daily chart. The daily chart's needed a pullback for a little bit of time. Maybe we pull back and retest some key areas down in here, down towards 35 to 33. Somewhere in there would be good. Still just going to talk about a pullback now for Palantir. We kind of violated a lot of areas here. We got really high on this MACD, so a pullback still most likely scenario there on the daily time frame. Then you go look at something like DIA, right? The Dow, and this is not going to be good if that crosses over. Pretty much a daily crossover on these charts is going to be really freaking bad. That's what it seems like to me. And we might need to be saved with some kind of V-shape in order to not actually head lower than the previous low, right? We need some kind of V-shape thing. So that's at least my opinion. I don't want to see daily crossovers. If I am bullish, I do not want to see that. If I'm bearish, then I definitely want to see that, right? 30-minute has crossed back down, by the way. It has crossed back down for the SPY, meaning the most likely thing is maybe to react down to 567.04. $30-minute and 2-hour have turned negative for something like Meta. Meta was showing you way up here that 30-minute rejected. Awesome. Okay, so right here, 566.72, saying the 2-hour can rotate down. 2-hour does not have divergence. The 2-hour does not have divergence, okay? So this is probably a 2-hour pullback, but you are getting confirmation on both signals, meaning that Meta has a higher likelihood of heading towards something like, I don't know, what is it? Actually, this week for Meta, I think that you have a high likelihood to head a lot lower. You really do. Meta has a very big implied move. You actually do have a good scenario where this 2-hour pulls all the way back to fill this gap. And the reason I can say that is because of the weekly ranges. I can look at the weekly ranges, I can see where they lie, and then I go, okay, what around there could be a target where buyers could step in? Well, 538 somewhere. Well, what's the close here? Yeah, 538 on the dot is where I would really start paying attention to see if that can really base out and curl back up. Consumer confidence was pushed down to about 98.7, so very, very low on that. We had a revision on that. Housing price index, just remember that thing just got revised to 5.3%. And the Case-Shiller home price, it came in previous 6.5, coming in at 5.9 now. It is strange that the dollar would be going down. It really had some basing out signals. We see the dollar dump sometimes, you know, at the beginning of a crash. So we'll see if this is actually going to be anything. I think the main signal we need to see in order to see whether or not stocks are actually going to come down or just, you know, do the daily timeframes really cross. If the daily time frame, if we really zoom out on things, that would be the bad thing, right? Because in order for that daily to cross, you realize what it has to break through. It has to break back through these levels, right? So if this is not going to hold as support because we're going to cross on that daily and end up like this, well, then the most likely scenario most likely is to reach back down into this little box right here. If we don't make it bounce from that area like a solid one, well, then you might end up way down here, right? If we cross through that center line, I think you're going to test the logo, make a new one, maybe even see a further point, kind of like we did over here. DJT, a little bit lackluster. Very good signal in this area. Very good signals in this area. Now curling down again, making a pretty flat divergence point here, not necessarily holding with the previous divergences. So you can see a reaction from here. I mean, this is the last level before you saw any kind of reaction, really. So 1258 for DJT is not bad, I think, but we'll see. I don't know the fundamentals of the company. That's important when you see a stock just heading down, 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 down for a long time. You really want to make sure that company is a decent one or has room for growth. And then at the same time, you can pay attention to the signals. For the most part, you would just say daily divergence. If that crosses up, I'd really just expect a reaction to this zone. If we're going to go higher, somewhere between that Bollinger Band, right? That Bollinger Band sits where? The breakdown area. right? A breakdown area, and we got some reactions kind of with these wicks to that area. Now, if we're going to go a little bit higher, you'd say almost a 50, or this area to go higher, right? If we get a big reaction like this, I would like this kind of look. So we just got to be patient with it, see what's going on with it. If there's a short seller problem, then you kind of know how to fight against those, right? But for the most part, just want to see a daily time frame curl up. Some reaction to some Chinese news. That's a great divergence here for NUE. You got that pullback down in this area. So this right here was the go signal. That never crossed back down. We'll see if the 2-hour crossed for a brief moment, telling you, hey, you might want to manage the trade. Never did until over here, okay? So once you're in positive territory though, like, right, once you're kind of out of the woods, by the way, can you see that 2-hour divergence down there? Fantastic. So the perfect buy was technically here at 139, I believe that was 139.26 is like the perfect buy here, all the way up to 151.41. So that's great. But on a 2-hour, you really want to be paying attention to this. The fact that this is actually still positive. It's pretty positive, so you would expect some kind of higher low in some way. You can always manage the trade and get back in. But for the most part, you would say as that goes positive, you can always hold on to some contracts. I like it. Doing good, Legini. How you doing? Yeah, daily time frame already crossed a while back from what I see on Monday, September 16th. Tesla starting to come down now. Okay, so we'll see if Tesla is actually able to curl down on this 30-minute chart. I still believe that that is a signal to pay attention to. I know it violates the divergence, but that does happen from time to time where you get these fake out moves even on your indicators. So I know that that divergence was violated on the RSI, but I know it is still sitting there for the MACD. But that does change my thinking. This originally could be full reversal. Now I have to be a little bit more open to just a 30-minute pullback. Okay, a 30-minute pullback, I have to be a little open to that. So this 2-hour doesn't have to cross absolutely right now. We could just see something like this and then start to cross down. But the confirmation of more downside is that 2-hour crossing down. That will be a confirmation. We're most likely heading to something like 235. Yeah, I think Mara's finally catching back up to Bitcoin. I think it's trying to catch back up to Bitcoin. This 2-hour cross up, you're trying to cup and handle right before a breakdown area. I think you're trying to bust through and get to 1873. That being said, Bitcoin's already made reversal signals here on the 4-hour and the 2-hour chart. You got the big rejection there for the 4-hour. You have the 2-hour that has the obvious divergence. So if that 4-hour or 2-hour can turn back up, positivity can come, but you might make another point of divergence that gets you really weak momentum. All right, so Tesla, we'll have to see if that's able to hold up. It did not hold up at, I believe it was around 250, 254, 253. So 253 to 254 is where we have to pay attention. See if that can hold as support. If it doesn't, it might just cross right back down. Microsoft and Meta not having a good day. See what's going on out there. Google and Microsoft. Looks like Microsoft and Google coming into just a little bit of fire for their big donations to political campaigns. But that's about it. Nothing too crazy. Oh, he can still see the chat. We just put him in timeout for a little while. My wife knows me very well, and she's like, yeah, you're not good at letting stuff go. When something eats at you, you have to talk about it. And I'm like, yeah, I got to get better at that. She just put me in my place a little bit. That's what's nice. She's been with me through my whole streaming, even back when I was a comedic streamer, and she would say the same exact thing. So now I'm like, okay, I need to listen a little bit and just be like, she's like, you can always just shut people out. They don't know you personally. They don't know anything about you, really. So she's like, just cut them out. Like, let them watch, that's fine, but you need to learn to ignore it and just do what you're here to do, which is be helpful. And I was like, that's the perfect thing to say. It was very, very nice. Palantir, though, we see Palantir, yeah, still crossing down on that 30-minute. You got to pay attention. It's still holding the divergence, by the way, on the 30-minute for the RSI and the MACD. If you look all the way across, if we really probably extend this out to an hourly, you're going to see it's straight down. So this is a signal to pay attention, and the hourly hasn't even crossed. So I think here, I think here, you have a very high likelihood to see a daily pullback for Palantir. Now, when you read into that and you go, is Palantir alone going to experience that resistance? Well, Palantir has been helping the stock market higher, I think, a little bit. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of, not necessarily exactly the same, but I would say Meta. I think it reminds me of Meta seeing these like weird, random, big-ass runs, and then you just can see that cross down. Good morning, Nyson. How you doing this morning? Check on gold. Yeah, so I'd just be careful with Palantir. I think that has a higher likelihood to go into a negative trend, maybe cross over a daily scale. Gold's still just screaming higher, so really thought that we would see reversal here with that dollar bottoming out, but this is getting to the point where it's like, man, people are really fearful if gold is going this high, right? I think people are putting their money into something, and I think that something might be gold. I think that something might be gold, silver, and all those things, because TLT is dropping a little bit, right? TLT dropping a little bit, but gold is holding up really, really well here. Let's go look at the futures real quick. Yeah, getting rid of the divergence points, breaking through the trend line here, just really wanting to go higher. So fantastic look. I'd be a little bit worried on bigger time frames. I might look at a weekly and just say, hey, I might want to be a little careful here. This thing is getting really overzealous to the upside. But if this is going to see some kind of breakout, this is why people just invest in gold and just kind of hold it. But for the most part, you would say, I want to pay attention to the monthly scale as well, right? You have to start looking at bigger time frames, because these 2 hours and things like that, you're getting major divergences. You can really see it here on GC, but on the futures, you really see those divergence points. You really see them. They're very, very clear. And this tells me that momentum to the upside is dying, right? But it just keeps curling up. So if this 4 hour does cross down, I think gold does see some downward price action. That still is so far away from the center line, I can't even say that that's for sure going to be a reversal in trend that leads to something like that, right? Leads to something like this. We get left head, right shoulder. That's not very clear because I'm far away from the center line. That could just dip down and test this area, the breakout area, and then curl right back up. And maybe this is the correct timing for gold to actually fall. VIX is flipping to positive. One thing we got to keep our eye on here is the 2 hour chart still is green now. So we're still green on this 2 hour chart. That 30-minute looks like it did turn back around. We'll just see if that volatility can keep coming in. But the dollar is dropping off. The last time we did drop, the dollar did drop with it. By the way, the last time we did drop in the market, the dollar dropped with it. And the only thing just telling me like, hey, this still, which by the way, the SPY is down while the dollar's down. That could mean a rigged move to the upside is coming. But we do notice the PCC is too low. The PCC is really low. So downside does look like the most likely option. And maybe the dollar comes down with it as people try to buy that dip. Dollar's really being funky. AMD, we were watching that one pretty closely here. See that 30-minute blip, that can mean more than you think. Yeah, VIX is just crossing up, right? VIX is crossing up. We still want that daily time, but we see the divergence, very, very obvious. That's why we're pointing it out yesterday. That did confirm, and that's where I take my position, right? But for the most part, we need a daily chart. We need this to really start to curl up to see some big volatility come in. Obviously, that starts with the 2 hours going positive. Obviously, it can be a 4 hour because it's volatility. It trades a little bit more. So you can look at a 4 hour, look if that thing crosses, and then that's probably when big volatility is confirmed to come in. I think it could be, Mojoma. I think you're kind of onto it. If this 4 hour signal proves, I'd probably be right there with you. Dang it, I talked too much. My coffee got cold. Alibaba. Oh yeah, it's Baba, that's what it is. Wow, what a big move from Alibaba. Wow, massive move, just not even needing to consolidate at the high. So I think the most likely thing with my voice crack is to come back down and test that area of about $90. I think that's the most likely thing. But this thing's just screaming higher. Even on the daily time frame, you see how that's getting overbought. That's why I'm talking about probably a 2 hour that pulls down like this would be a solid retest. Yeah, so for Meta, the main thing to do with that, if I'm taking any kind of play here and saying, hey, I'm pretty much taking a 2 hour little swing to the downside, okay, that's fine. I'm taking a 2 hour pullback because of the 30-minute divergences. If that 30-minute, or I would even say, let's see where that 15 is. No, 15 is dipping down pretty negative. I would say if that 30-minute crosses, that means manage the trade, and then look for the reversal again later on. Right, I would say that this means, okay, that crosses back up. This is great that you reacted down this level and you're seeing this wick because you have some stuff in here. Excuse me. So you can do this left head, little right shoulder would be interesting. But if that's not going to be a right shoulder, then that might cross on this MACD and head up and then make that divergence point again, right? Make that divergence point again, aka do something like this. And then you have to know, okay, manage the trade, and now is the time, right? The timing was a little bit off if that shows up for you. Oh, China stimulus. Okay, well, that makes sense. That's a massive move, so. Thank you. Thank you for the blessings. Caterpillar, big move to the upside, still holding a 30-minute divergence there. So watch if that 30-minute does rotate down. Now that's a strong move though, just pay attention. That's a big, strong move. So the daily time frame is just screaming higher. It looks like it needs some kind of pullback. What would be the most likely thing? Well, you've reacted up to this area. It'd be nice to get back down to something like a I would say 368.50. That would be a nice little pullback. For the 2 hour, you see a little 2 hour divergence popping up here, so you got to watch the daily a little bit, but you're so high on this 2 hour that most likely you do something like this, right? Most likely we do something like that. Just get a retest of the breakout and then start to head higher. Get that retest of that center line for the MACD, right? Just test this level and then turn right back up. That looks like the most likely thing to me, as this thing is extremely positive. Good morning, Martin. How you doing? Lucy, we can always look at Lucy. Yeah, good thinking, Ifoma. I think it's all there, Ifoma. I think it's really there for you. I think you understand it more than you think. You just want that clarification. Have some confidence in yourself. You're asking the right questions. So that must mean you slightly have those answers, and I think that's good. Keep asking, though. The 30-minute curling up here for Lucy is a great sign. Right, you have the divergence, that looked ugly, now the 30 minutes crossed up, meaning I do have to be aware if that reverses. But as this is really stabilized, if we can really break through, you can start to see that positivity. Now you are slightly overbought. That happened a lot last time, right? The second you turned up over here, you were overbought. And you just remained overbought that whole time. So you're kind of hoping another moment like that happens, I think. Because if it doesn't, and you just do something like that, well, now you have a divergence here. So there's a way up, there's a way down. Pay attention to both and react. This says bullish for now. Apple and Microsoft both do have some pretty big gaps to fill. They really do. And so this is something cool to pay attention to, is look for that gap support area. But the gap fill down here would be a very, very good 2 hour pullback. Look at that 2 hour just crossed. And you can remain here and just cross up later, but I would really like this. Everyone gets very bearish and then you just curl back up. Okay, let me look around here for a sec. VIX sort of going up there. PCC still remaining high. And the dollar really breaking down. So this is where we got to pay attention to the daily time frame for the dollar. Because if that does rotate down, that would mean, uh-oh, maybe some people are buying in here, but it could rotate down. We've seen the dollar go down with the market before, and then watch out for something like this. Wow, very good move there. Interesting. IWM, most likely thing here looks like 2-hour pullback. I'd still be paying attention to something like 216.81, but also obviously right above that 217.70. Morning, Freddie. How you doing? How you doing? You gotta keep it uninverted. Yeah, Tesla really dying off, so it was outside of that weekly expected move, and it came back inside of it. So I think John's comment on the Patreon made a lot of sense, and I really like that comment because exactly what he was waiting for is happening right now. Not necessarily missing the entries. I mean, you got Tesla here. This is the one I was paying attention to, seeing if that can cross back down. And then it's still like Meta and all these. The 2-hour has just crossed down. Like these things are just now happening. So you just have a better confirmation of what's going on. You can look at a 30-minute. Is that oversold? No. So that can go lower. And then make a decision. See if that's able to push higher, manage the trade, or just scale in again at these levels. So you didn't really, I don't think you missed much. I mean, certain ones you probably missed, right? I really liked, I think it was Google, right? I still like this signal. It's just really starting, right? 2-hour just crossed. Gotta pay attention if the 30-minute crosses up. Perfect. Microsoft was the one you're probably late on because you got this right in here. You see that rejection. That's really the moment. And then you're feeling pretty good about that for pretty much all the rest of the time since this happened. Solid little almost 10-point move there. So these signals are popping up. You're getting 2-hour confirmations in the past of these signals. You got the entry over here, so they just popped up. If you missed them, you missed them by probably a day, day and a half. Manchester United. Oh gosh. Manchester United. For the most part, for Micron here, you're seeing that daily divergence and it's playing out. I mean, if you really zoom out to the daily side of things and you take that longer out expiration, it just causes so much less stress. If you wanted to manage the trade early on, that's perfectly fine. Looking at that 2-hour, saw that dip down for a brief moment. Then you got this curl up right here around 89.50. That was the go zone. TLT creating more divergence here, saying we're about to see those yields drop because that 30-minute divergence it had, oh, you're right. It had a 30-minute divergence that popped up. Now you're making another one. That's kind of a big deal if this curls back up. Why are we going to get a massive deadness in momentum and see a big reaction maybe from TLT? Well, that 2-hour needs to curl up. Maybe the big move for TLT is coming. So I actually might have to reapply my investment soon. Yeah, consumer confidence coming in pretty damn low. Now, quick note here, as we switch over to these actual markets, you notice that the Qs and the SPY both breaking down, going to what? Well, we saw that cross back down on the SPY, and the most likely thing is daily expected move. So the Qs are heading towards it, kind of getting a reaction right before it at this moment. So TLT is a divergence that says I can reverse to the upside, which means yields will come down. And if that divergence really leads to a big move, that means yields are about to come down dramatically for some reason. Well, look at some stuff. I gotta rearrange some stuff here. Cool. And let's go check back in on volatility as that thing scales up. 2 hour crossed up, confirming another little divergence here. So looks like volatility says I'm coming back in. That's what volatility is saying with these. But is it going to come back in and then just fade? Or is it actually going to see another big move? That's what you're paying attention to. If it sees the big move, daily crosses, it goes a little bit higher. Big dark pool bets on SPY at 569.67 and 569.57. Yeah, and there was a lot of dark pool activity of selling actually at these levels. It was on this day we actually saw, I was reading into a guy that researches it, and he was like, we have a lot of dark pool sells up towards 571. A lot of dark pool shorting going on there too. I think it does I think we experience maybe some kind of pullback here. I think still pull back on this 2 hour. And then I think we maybe even just see a flash moment of, oh my gosh, yields are breaking down. Or if we get the daily pullback scenario, then we get that euphoric moment later on. I think if it's a 2 hour pullback, that might be brief. But if it pulls back more, then we could see that potential upside for quite some time, maybe going into mid-October. But if this just kind of drops down a little bit now and then goes like this, I'm looking at like next week. Oh, this is a dark pull. Dark rug pull. Dow really not suffering though, so. Exactly, John. Yeah, we're excited for pullbacks. We're excited for reversals in trend, right? We're excited for anything that happens. That's the benefit of being a trade like water trader, is just like, we're excited for anything because we're ready to react to anything. We're always thinking of what's going on with our trade and paying attention to other things in the market as well. So it's very nice to see a pullback. It's very nice to see a reversal signal, because then I can take that, and if it reverses, hey, I'm in it. If it pulls back and then crosses up, I'm out, and I'm maybe taking a swing trade to the upside because I have my skills, right? That's the benefit to the 2 courses down in the description. All right, we see volatility seeing a little bit of a spike here, going up to 2% now. It really wants to break through. We'll see if this has something to say. I think the ultimate signal is just this 4 hour divergence, so I'd really be paying attention to the next 41 minutes. We need the juice on it. That's SMCI. We don't need juice on SMCI. I think it's like right here. There it is. We'll spray some onto it. All right, we got a lot of mayo on that thing now. Maybe it can run. That's a great signal. These are great signals. They are. Gold's still screaming. What's oil doing? Oil wants to cross up, not really basing out signals here though. Does it have a 2 hour divergence here? It does. So looks like 2 hour does have it if that crosses. 4 hour has it as well. Kind of consolidative actually here on the RSI. Very interesting behavior there, but I'd say a cross down of the 4 hour might be at least some kind of higher low being formed. Maybe you just go down to like 70 actually, like 70, 50. Just kind of trending that way. And I think that's smart to think of for the 30-minute, as that thing is still positive, right? Still positive. So most likely still just maybe a touchdown at lower prices, maybe just a touchdown into this zone. really tell people, oh yeah, this is going to be a head and shoulder. This is what I think this is how you break down, really, right? Left head, right shoulder. That's how you break down. But if this doesn't create that right shoulder, right? If you don't see it turn down right here, it just kind of goes up, 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 then that could be a reversal signal in the future. And I think that would be an interesting one for sure. Got out the Tesla puts, took your profit. Well, it went down to that 250 level, so I think you're good, right? Yeah, that's a good way to think though, and that's great. You guys are chatting back and forth about it. Just one person saying, "Yeah, I think this will just be a trend move," meaning this is just going to be some kind of pullback, which is fine, but it's still a reversal signal. It can happen, right? But the most likely thing to happen is still this is positive. So is that going to turn up? That's kind of the thing, because that's not the best divergence in the near price action. A better one would be this right here. Didn't want to overstay your welcome. Hey, that's perfectly fine. You're seeing a reaction. That's exactly, that's a really good level to pay attention to, the breakout area. So strategy worked, didn't it? Your strategy worked for the day, and that's what's important. We saw that NVIDIA was trying to cross back down, did not do that as of this moment. People starting to buy a little bit of puts, not too much, just a little bit. Good morning, Maria. How you doing? Interesting. Good stuff. Alrighty. Yeah, so Tesla did go to 255. The problem with making that move to 255 is you came outside of the weekly expected move. So you do see that drop back into the weekly expected move as of now. Pay attention if that 30-minute crosses over. A lot of people in the chat saying, hey, this could just be a pullback, and I think they're perfectly fine. I think they're right to think that, right? This is still high up on that MACD. So really a reversal signal we would like to see is something like this. That would get us to pull down, cross up, and then cross back down, really get you closer to that center line. I would like this look for something to take an actual trade for Tesla. It means this can reverse, but it's most likely to be a pullback. For Apple, I think the main area it wants to get to, if a daily did pull down, you're most likely going to take out this low. So that's the first thing. You're looking for the daily scale. If this thing crosses here, it's not going to be pretty. You're most likely testing the low, going to make a new one, right? So if you're looking for that quick pullback, though, I think this area right here, you see these wicks, all of those wicks being support. We wick up into that area and see rejection. We wick up into that area and see rejection, and then we gap above that area. So that means this area is very important. So if I really wanted to, I should draw a little box and say anywhere from pretty much the low of this candle and the close all the way to, I would say, the close of that candle there. There's a little zone right there. You see how once you put a little zone on it, it makes a little bit more sense. Okay, so a dip down into that area would make sense, but if the daily turns down, that's not going to be a good sign. So I just want this 2 hour maybe to pull down into that zone and then curl back up, or an hourly to turn down into that zone and then curl back up. So anytime the hourly curls up, positivity can come in. You're hitting 225.84, which is the support line that I have, just a key level. But you can see how there's a little area down here right below it. That area is from 223.58. It's at least what I marked off. It's just a kind of an estimated area. And then 224.96. So anywhere in there. We pretty much could just do this. and say anywhere in that area, but I think that it's more helpful to break them apart. Man, signals will look drastically different on 30-minute charts by the end of the day. Oh, wait a second. Remember, for the 4-hour for volatility, we might need to keep our eye on this for a few minutes here. If I click on other stocks, we might just keep it on a 4-hour so we don't click back and forth, but that is a cross-up. That's confirming divergence. Be a little careful. Wow. Consolidate in this area, and I think that'd be a perfect thing to do as well. You just always got to be open to kind of a rug pull scenario when the PCC was so low for so long. The only thing we don't have is the dollar's not seeing that reaction. The dollar's actually crossing over on the 4-hour here. Not a good sign. The last time we crossed on the 4-hour, it was super brief though, and it was down in this area. So if that would happen again, we just got to see if this can go back to green. Post in about 23 minutes. There's a good divergence on gold. I think that was on GC. Gold futures here. I really like the 4-hour divergence here. It tells me a daily turn down can happen. A daily pullback can happen for gold. It's been going up and up and up and up and up forever. And now we could possibly see a daily pull down to that center line, kind of like over here. It could just be this type of thing, go react to that 20. But the main thing I want to see is in about 10 minutes here, 12, what is it? Oh, in 32 minutes. So we don't have to pay attention to it that whole time. But yeah, I want to pay attention if that is starting to gain some steam, which means probably the SPY is suffering a little bit. 4-hour crosses over for the SPY. Okay, I know that we're on 4-hour charts and I don't really like them that much, but that is still a bigger time frame giving you a divergence. So I would pay attention if this 4-hour crosses down. Good morning, Nazim, and thank you so much for your message. I appreciate you. I just saw the title of it. I wasn't able to read it this morning. I had to hop on here, but I'll read it afterwards. All right, now PCC is starting to raise just a little bit while the dollar is negative. If that kind of flips around, we got to be a little cautious. This could just be some kind of fake out. PLTY? That can't be it. Are you wanting Palantir? Most people want Palantir. Palantir does not look the best here. Now, you see how the 4-hour doesn't even have anything. You see that the 2-hour does have something. So it's more just saying a daily pullback can happen here. Because of the positioning of the MACD, a daily pullback is the most likely scenario. That pullback could just go sideways and keep around this 36 level, but I think something around the gap support area and the actual resistance can be used as support. So something like 3250 would be a great move down, and then you'd want to see if those 2 hours are really rolling back up or something like that. So 2-hour rolling up would be nice around that area. Amazon now really seeing that weakness come in. Tesla starting to fade the move. Going back down, almost flat now. Apple already turned down. SPY, if that confirms, not the best sign, right? So let's go still into our 4 hours for now. Actually, let's go a little tighter. Let's go 30-minute because we're hitting some daily expected moves. What happened to cost? Costco dropping off here. Big thing for Costco was, this still potentially has an opportunity to be some kind of, big ass handle. But as that's a major drop and you didn't make it to the point you wanted to get to, that can just be a retest of a breakdown area technically, and you end up falling to the downside. So right now you're looking if that 30-minute can turn back up. It's still relatively positive. but we have probably been curling down. So if this curls down on a 2 hour, then yeah, test the low, go make a new one. That looks like the most likely scenario there. You have a bunch of divergence at these highs, right? We had it across all the way here, all the way over here. The main one being the recent time. So this looks like maybe just a lower high. And if that 2 hour does rotate down, maybe even an hourly chart at this point, you can see negativity come in because we're close to that center line. So now the most likely option for Costco is, I would actually say it leans more towards a reversal in trend. But we'll see. All it has to do is go like that, right? You always want to make sure you keep in your mind how you can be hurt by the trade. VIX now up 4.65. Yeah, divergence is kind of like a tool that you learn. It's like a skill you use as a tool. And that is what really shows you some deadness and momentum. It's just a tool you can use while looking at your indicators pretty much. And it's a skill to have to say, okay, this is going to reverse, but where, like the positioning of that divergence, how far away is it from the center line? Is it a triple divergence? Is it on multiple time frames? There's a lot to know there. That's why we encourage taking the course like a few times, right? Looking through that section a few times. But yes, it is a good sign that momentum is dying off. If that confirms, and then you see it confirm on a bigger time frame, that's when you really start to pay attention. Now, when volatility is very high, I would really pay attention to divergence, right? If volatility is above 20, divergences play out in very good little 100% trades, 100% wins all the time. You can still see triple divergences and things like that, so you got to know how to manage those trades or scale in. But for the most part, when volatility is higher, those divergences play out a lot more often with more solid moves, because the higher up volatility is, the more size in those swings we're going to see. Yeah, Tesla does not have daily divergence. Tesla actually has a monthly crossing up into positive territory, I think. Yeah, NVIDIA showed a turn down a long time ago, right? The 30-minute here is turning down, I think, again, maybe as of now. You're going to see swings within it where the 2 hours negative and the 30 minutes positive. It's not the 30 minutes positive, so the 2 hour has to be positive, right? There's more time behind a 2 hour. So what you're kind of paying attention to here is, are we able to really carve this out, kind of reject from here? That's what I'm really looking at. But for the most part, the 30-minute hasn't crossed down yet. So the shortest time frame is still saying this could all just be some kind of pulled up, right? It still could pull up over time. The 2 hours just pointing straight down. The 2 hours just pointing straight down. So most likely this is consolidation to actually head lower is what I would most likely be looking at here, right? The 30-minute pops up just like it did, right? It's popping up here. If that crosses down, then you know that 2 hour might continue in a downward direction. Yeah, so there is no daily moves for a stock until Friday, unless it's one of the indices or something that trades every single day. John's got it spot on again. Good job, John. Yeah, you cannot make a range without an expiration. So if there is no expiration, yeah, exactly, Ifoma, and then you just want to manage the trade accordingly, right? But to get back to it, yeah, so if you do not have an expiration, you physically cannot calculate the expected move. If you are, you're faking it. So don't sit there and put 1 out of 365 days in your calculation, right? You can't do that unless you have expiration, because that's what that calculation is. It's calculating how far to expiration you are. So that's why you can make weekly moves using Friday expiration. That's why we can make daily moves for Fridays, but you can only make daily expected moves for stocks like SPY, Qs, well, sometimes TLT. I think TLT for the most part has like every other day or something like that. and IWM, other indices. Yeah, so the 30, that's a good way to convince you. It's like, okay, I'm late to the move. The 2 hours pointing down. Say I'm late to the move. Okay, so what do I need to see? I need to see at least a 30-minute pullback to get by that center line and then cross down on this MACD, and then maybe we head down towards a weekly expected move downside. MasterCard? Oh, I'll look at MasterCard. That sounds fun. I'm worried about anything that has to do with debt. MasterCard 30-minute did dip down. So this is good too. If something like this can happen, you don't want to think like, oh, if that crosses over, it's just done, right? No, a bounce back can happen. So that's why managing the trade is something to know how to do. You don't have to manage this one just yet, I would say. I would say more so if the 15-minute crosses up here, then I would be managing that trade. Just because we could get a full reaction to fill that gap, and then I could see the trading opportunity later if that's the correct move. But yeah, this is something key for MasterCard. It rejected on the 2 hour. That's a big deal. So if we do get some kind of 15-minute curl, or it just consolidates sideways and we get this to curl up in some way, I'd look for that to rotate back down. Daily scale here. No divergence here for the daily scale, so most likely this is some kind of pullback. As we're already testing that 20, we're riding that 20 the whole time, so you have to pay attention if that thing can bounce back up. You have to, because we just rode that 20, rode that 9 all the way up. So now you want to see, do we break that? If we start to break that, the 50 starts to open up, and it's in a very key area, so I like that look. As far as the analysis goes, I'm like, I think some trade could pop up here soon. Look at a weekly. Yeah, so this is where you're going. I hope that daily only curls down like this and curls back up, because if it remains and sells off for probably 2 weeks, right, it just keeps going like this and you post that, well, this weekly's curled down. And if that weekly curls down, the most likely thing, actually, because you're closer to the center line than this right here, well, is to test these lows and go make a new one. Yeah. Now you have to be open to structure being built, right, in some way. But for the most part, if that weekly does cross, it means, hey, the monthly scale has a good likelihood of rotating down. What's the problem with the monthly scale? You have divergence. So good timing to look at something like MasterCard. Looks like if that weekly does turn down, it's not going to be a good sign. There's an SEC meeting right now. Is there? It's crazy. Cool thing with the rejection here, though. I do like that rejection. Some divergence here. Not the best divergence here. Maybe a bigger time frame has it pretty clear. That's why it's good to look at multiple times. Yeah, even the 4 hour didn't really have it. Just had it on the RSI. So that's telling me this could still just be a pullback. This could still just be a 4 hour pullback that crosses back up and goes up and hits 510. But it also tells me if the selling on it goes into a daily scale, I got to watch the weeklies, because that could mean we're really reversing from here. So there's a way up and a way down. We know both. See if this posted. Hasn't posted yet. You've got 21 minutes left for this guy. Of course, Honda. I think that's a great look, Honda. It's great to pay attention to those macro things. It really is like easier to trade macro signals. If you're wrong, you can, managing the trade can get rough, so you can lose a little bit. But if you're taking out further expiration and just playing the daily signals, it's pretty nice. My thoughts on AMD are this didn't look pretty. It really didn't. And if that, I would say a 2 hour was what we were looking at, that's crossed down. So most likely thing is still downside here for something like AMD. And so that's unfortunate. Now, according to our weekly expected moves, we're kind of sitting pretty much right in the middle, right? We could go up, we could go down. So I want to see, how could I go up? How could I go down? Well, I think you go up by just simply curling up a 30-minute chart again, right? But right now it's saying I'm going down. So this is why it's, if that 30-minute can curl back up again, right? This said, this might be the moment. That failed. Manage the trade. Moment again, okay, then we head up to the upside. But we'll see, because this is curled down right now and it is close to that center line. So as of right now, the most likely thing for AMD is to end up back down into this zone. So we got to get things to turn back around. And then watch the daily scale as well for a lot of these charts. All right, people are starting to go to the put side a little bit. We did go down pretty much directly towards our daily expected move, and now we're bouncing. So all of this could just be sideways price action, right? Remain in the zone until we get some bigger, more important to people pieces of data. When would we get that data? Well, I would say going into Thursday, durable goods orders and GDP growth rate. GDP is supposed to come in at 3%. Which, weirdly enough, if it comes in at 3%, that might be a reason for yields to go up. Okay, interesting. Tesla trying to make another move higher, still not able to cross, right? Still waiting for that little red down here, so still has not crossed. Amazon has, but it had this upward move in the recent time. Maybe it just needs to do one more push, who knows? Let's see. Still most likely is downside there for a 30-minute. Just see if anything's popping up. Okay, Meta. See, Meta has broken down enough that it's really close to that center line because of the rejection. So you're looking to see if Meta's able to cross here. Looking to see if that can cross up and actually create a confirmed, affirmed divergence, not a rejection one. I like the real divergences, I'll call them for now. I don't necessarily like rejection divergence as much. I like to see us go and hit that higher point and then make that divergence and fall. I don't like the rejection divergence as much, but it does happen. So if this 30-minute crosses up, if I'm short here or something, well, then if this 30-minute crosses up, that's completely against what I would do. I could manage the trade for a moment in here, lose a little bit, stay in the game, see if that pops up like this, crosses back down, and then get my timing a little bit better if I see that signal down here on the MACD. And then I'll be reapplying that position, taking a small loss, going into a good probable trade. That's what I want to do here. And the SPY could technically do the same thing, but on an hourly chart. You see it on an hourly chart very clearly of what would happen if a trap was set. Very clearly, you would cross up on this hourly. You'd maybe cross up, go into this area, and then by the end of the week, maybe you see that blip, right? And then you see the divergence. We see this, and then we see that, right? Or we even come down a little more, and then we see it. You just see that straight downward move. I think that's what I'm looking for there. Which would mean volatility needs to give a different signal if that were to happen. Technically, you don't have the best way to give a better signal at this moment besides a little 30-minute divergence, right? So a little 30-minute divergence here might be what I'm looking for. Rejection here, right? I'm not the biggest fan of rejections. I want to see that cross and then build back up. We'll see. Right now you're confirming a lot. That 4-hour was just about to confirm. Look at that. It was just about to confirm and now it's not. So that's a big deal. Everything starts to make little bits of more sense as the price action continues. Very nice. Hey, thanks for buying that course, Elle. I hope it goes well for you. Make sure if you need anything, just ask questions and that kind of thing. If it's about divergence, anything like that. People ask questions all the time and it's perfectly fine. I say we go up, that's just foolish. Is that just foolish? No. The thing is, whether you would go in my chat and say, I think we go up, or whether you would go in my chat and say, I think we go down. The only time I'll be like, okay, that's not the smart decision, right? Is if you said, hey, I think this crosses up like let's say this daily move's not here. Just kind of ignore the daily moves for a sec. Just pretend it's price action. And this crosses up on this MACD, and it crosses up like this. And you say, I think we're going down. The thing is, even that I would say is slightly wrong, but not completely wrong. Because you could just get a fake out here and then turn right back down. That happens all the time. But if this would cross up, the most probable thing is upside. So is it the best decision when this crosses up to take a downside play? No, because the most likely direction is that way. So I'm paying attention to that. And so if you come into my chat and you say, hey, I think we're going up, I think we're going down, there is a way for a stock to go down, a way for a stock to go up pretty much at any time. It's just sometimes it's more obvious. So what I'd be really excited for was this moment right here looked like, okay, we can break down. Shorter time frames had me manage a trade maybe, right? And then it says, okay, we're going to go up one more time. This is something I'd be really excited for because it would be a little blip here, and maybe we make an even further divergence, which gets me closer to the center line if that crosses. So there is a way up, there is a way down. I think we could go either way, and I think it's perfectly intelligent to say we could go up from here. And I think it's perfectly intelligent to say we could reject from here based on what the VIX is doing. So you just more so want to be like, what's both scenarios? If you're someone who can understand both scenarios and say, if that volatility crosses up on that 4 hour, the SPY most likely will fall. But if this hourly for the SPY crosses up, then the SPY most likely goes up. Whichever one happens first is what I react to, and then I manage the trade. Boom. Now I know both my scenarios. I know what to do. I'm good to go. Qs as well. A lot can change with big data. I will say that. We were dropping and the PCC did hit higher levels at the daily expected move. That's something that happens pretty damn often. Dollar dropped and I want my pump. And exactly, so the dollar did drop, and in that moment you did see some raising in this. Just a little bit, but for the most part still we could end up going down. You still can, because the dollar's hitting its key level again. Right, dollar hitting its key level again. Now this 4 hour crosses, that's not a good sign, but we've seen that time where it crosses in this area and it crosses right back up. So look if this crosses right back up. And then maybe we'll see the dollar pump while the stock market pumps, and that would be a good hint. I think I like the Qs. I think the Qs have a chance to really get to their weekly expected move here. That Google positive bar makes no sense. Yeah. So Google, again, you just want to be saying, how close is that 30-minute, right? The shortest time frame I can, but that 30-minute is crossing that center line on the RSI. If that crosses on the MACD, these are the first signals of some kind of swing trade to the upside. Apple, some kind of swing trade to the upside is what I'm looking for now, because I'm seeing green, right? Right when I see that positivity, I know, okay, now I need to lean towards these 30 minutes crossing up. Amazon, not necessarily Amazon. Nvidia is a tough one too, because it's already crossed up, but Meta, even Microsoft, even Google. Netflix already did it. again. All right, Q is back to flat. SPY on the weekly is going to be up there towards 575.84. And that's the thing why the dollar could really see some kind of bounce, right? It kind of acts opposite to things like gold, and gold's showing a little bit of a divergence there. 4 hour here, pullback maybe likely. I need to get the futures going, but thank you so much for the $2. Oh, they're doing their strike on October 1st. That's right. I think I saw some news stuff about that. I think the hourly here might be the best. Yeah, hourly is still the best here, showing that curl up, but we can see how that could be brief because we're already running into resistance. We do have some upside potential here. Thank you so much, Short Fridays, for the $2 in the super chat. Rug pull coming in the next few weeks. I think you have high potential for that as long as the volatility remains above its 200 fully. You're liking the Qs at the gap fill. Where is that gap fill? $496. That'd be a solid move. Have we consolidated enough for that kind of move? I don't know if we have, but the hourly chart's saying something a little different. 30-minute chart's probably saying something a little different here for the Qs, right? The Qs have not been able to cross up. If they're able to cross up, that'd be something different. Could be, Lavery. We'll see. If that's going to happen, the signals will prove it. You know what I mean? If all of that's going to happen, we will see it in the signals. That's the best part. Alrighty, we're approaching the time where I do end up hopping off. We've gone through pretty much the entire morning here, and we've seen some interesting things. I think we now have a good handle on if we're going to see stocks head lower. Hey, volatility needs to turn up. If we're going to see stocks head higher, then these 30 minutes or hourly charts, most likely hourly charts a little bit better, but 30-minute charts at least need to curl up, maybe to give us that big point of divergence again, right? Create that big loopy triple divergence on the hourly, that loopy divergence here on the 30-minute up towards that weekly expected move. So that's something we're paying attention to. I wanted to say this. Thank you guys so much for joining today. Really do appreciate it. I won't be able to do a closing stream today, but I will be putting out a live video. Pretty busy this week, so I don't know if we'll be able to do many any closing streams. Most likely we will do a closing stream on Friday. Okay, Friday of this week, we'll most likely do a little closing stream. So thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you for liking, subscribing, doing all that good stuff. Thank you for the donations. Thank you, Short Fridays, for that. And I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you on YouTube later, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. Peace out. If I post any, if I see any trade setups, I'll still post them and remind you of what's going on Patreon. All right, guys, peace out. Have a good day.